All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually quite tired. Didn't actually sleep very well last night. I was actually kept awake, actually thinking, or more like remembering a bunch of Warcraft 3 stuff. So, in honor of Warcraft 3, I've been a big fan of Grubby for a long time. Watched tons of his videos. Of course, I love seeing Grubby in World of Warcraft. I'm tickled pink at all the stuff I've been learning about Grubby trying to teach, like Tyler One and Guzu and Soda Poppin and all the others. Grubby, every once in a while, always makes really informative videos. I especially like his videos where he's casting a lot of his old games and talking about things from his perspective. Those are some of my favorite Grubby videos. Um, but he's been pushing kind of hard for like Tyler One and other players to get key bindings in Warcraft 3. And you know me, I fucking hate key bindings in Classic World of Warcraft. I've been resisting them for years. I have recently gotten key bindings in Classic WoW, and I've been absolutely loving them. I started taking it seriously back during Season of Discovery. I never really felt the need to get key bindings in Warcraft 3 because I don't play against humans. I always play against the computer. I like testing new things and doing this and doing that. I'm more of an explorer in games than anything, like, obviously. But in Classic WoW, I actually do take my PvP extremely seriously. Um, but in most RTS games, you can literally just reduce the speed that the game is played, and so you can just use clicks to simulate you actually being good at the game, which is basically what I always do. I would just adjust the speed to go super slow if I wanted to simulate actually being like a pro player and being really good at the game, as opposed to actually spending the time to do the keybinds and get the skills. So actually, red and purple, that's not too bad. I don't mind. Let's go orange. Orange is a bit better. I'm going to make myself purple. I always like being purple. I like playing against two insane computers. If I play against double human insane computers, it's kind of easy. If I play against undead, it's super easy. Night Elf is like a middle tier difficulty, and I often find going against double insane orc is some of the harder fights. You can do mixing and matching, but I usually don't like doing that. I usually like going faction versus faction. I just learn more that way in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to have two allied insane computers. I haven't played Warcraft 3 in ages, and hotkeys in this game are kind of brand new to me. I put in maybe 10 hours of gameplay like yesterday, but I spent a lot of that just trying to figure out the hotkeys. So I'm not going to be a total noob with the game, but it'll be a little sus to be 100% sure from time to time. So we're going to start the game, and I don't want to be here. I want to be like lower right where the teal is. Nope. I want to be where teal is. Yeah, okay, this is the correct spot. All right, cool. Let's talk about hotkeys really fast here. So I've been thinking a lot about how to do hotkeys in Warcraft 3, especially since I was watching Tyler complain about it and Soda complain about it, and they were kind of having a hard time doing their hotkeys. And I'm new enough to hotkeys, yet experienced enough with RTS games that I feel like I want to kind of throw my hat into the ring, with what might be a good setup for them, especially as a really good World of Warcraft player. Not mechanically, but in every other way. I guess I'm pretty decent mechanically these days. All right, so if you don't know the history of RTS games and hotkeys, they're how do I put this? The hotkeys kind of started with the Command and Conquer franchise, and then there were some other RTS games that kind of competed with the Command and Conquer hotkey setup. Specifically, I think we're talking like the StarCraft RTS that took off, had a completely different like hotkey setup, and then there's like a modern RTS. Basically, there were two competing hotkey systems for RTS games, and they kind of merged into the modern RTS game hotkey system. And the modern RTS game hotkey system is basically you can use You can assign pretty much any key that you want to anything, including like, Shift 1, Shift 2, Shift 3, Shift F1, Shift QW, whatever, Tab QW, whatever. You can basically combine the keys so that your fingers never have to really leave the keyboard, and your pinky finger could just kind of move around a little bit, hit caps lock, hit tabs, whatever the hell it wants. The reason I bring this up is because Warcraft 3, apparently, after looking at the hotkeys, exists in this uncomfortable middle ground of RTS history where that press shift plus button formula does not exist. And it is like the classic, I want to call it the Diablo 2 RTS scheme that seems to be defaulted in the game. It's literally set up like Diablo 2. Like, unironically, it's the Diablo 2 key binding setup, but for Warcraft 3, which is kind of annoying. Also, it's using some StarCraft mechanics. Okay, so let's talk about what's annoying about it first. So I'm going to click on one of my heroes here. I'm just going to go to General. So to start off default, selecting your first hero made is F1, and then it's F2 and F3. That's how the default is for the game. I've changed it to be 5, 6, and 7, and I'll talk about that in a hot second. I've instead shifted the inventory slots to being F1, F2, F3. Again, shift plus number does not exist as a hotkey selection in the game. So, for example, if I click this and I try to press shift 5, it just makes it 5. Okay, so shift plus anything doesn't exist in this system. You cannot combine the keys. You're just kind of stuck with whatever the hell you're doing. The problem with having F1, F2, and F3 being for selecting the systems, in Diablo 2, this would be for your skills. So in Diablo 2, you would have like your fingers on like 1, 2, 3 keys. Your pinky finger would be floating around somewhere around the shift button, and your thumb would be for like, space bar and the alt key. So literally you have 3 of your fingers on the 1, 2, and 3 keys, and then your pinky finger is just kind of dangling. In Diablo 2, you would use F1, F2, and F3 to cycle through your skills. You could do it with your mouse wheel, but you could get better response time and better... you could juggle more skills if you were willing to use the F1, F2, and F3 keys. And then the 1, 2, and 3 keys were for your health pots, and then other stuff was for other stuff. And then you have, like the StarCraft system has your fingers pretty much in the exact same spot. You're using the 1, 2, 3 keys, the shift key, the control key to do waypoints and reassign your army hotkeys and all that stuff and yada, yada, yada. And then F2 and F3, I think, were just kind of for jumping around the map a little bit. Anyways, but what Warcraft 3 wants you to do, and what they brought to the formula is you have a hero, and your hero has 4 abilities. This eventually got translated into League of Legends, right? The Warcraft 3 mod, Defense of the Ancients, eventually morphed into League of Legends, which is why all the heroes in the game literally are set up like League of Legends characters. These did not have the League of Legends hotkey setups, though. It's like random stuff, like T was the letter, like T was my holy light originally. If I click on like the orc heroes and I pick up this guy, it wants like WRCB. This is CFT, like what the fuck? I'm supposed to find, okay, F button, that's not too bad. X for hex, like fucking hell. It's kind of painfully all over the place, like where their abilities are. So I decided, screw that, I'm going to set it up like League of Legends. If my fingers are naturally on my 1, 2, and 3 keys, which is the default for any RTS game ever, it's very easy for me to shift them down into League of Legends format, right? So this is literally like, W, E, Q, and R, right? League of Legends, League of Legends, League of Legends, League of Legends. Basically, I have any ability that I'm going to be using often and kind of spamming is on the E key. And then the next most used key, of course, is going to be W, and then the least. Basically, you want your most used keys to be at the most readily available, and then you want the keys that are the hardest to get to be the least used, period. And it's going to be incredibly difficult for us to select a hero naturally with F1, F2, and F3, and then move my fucking fingers down to the keyboard, whether it's League of Legends or not, let alone find the T buttons, right? That's some fucking dancing with my hand on the keyboard. Does not feel comfortable at all. I do not like that. Even as a WoW player, I do not like that whatsoever. So instead, what I did is, let's look at the general stuff. All right, so all my hero abilities are now League of Legendified, right? QWE, 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 and then maybe there's an R involved there, right? Any hero that I'm going to be using in the game is set up like League of Legends, yeah, right? Pretty good. But then we go over here for selecting the heroes individually. Rather than F1, F2, and F3, I assign them to 5, 6, and 7. This is because I'm using a Razor Naga mouse. Most serious WoW players use a Razor Naga mouse. So we have access to a bunch of number buttons using our thumb on our mouse, right? So I'm using the wheel setup on my Razor Naga. A lot of people like using the grid setup, so they have access to like 12 buttons. But I play Paladin, Classic World of Warcraft, so 7 buttons in wheel format is perfectly fine for my purposes. The 5, 6, and 7 keys are at the back of the wheel, which make them the least used keys and hardest to get to. So I can't possibly accidentally like fat finger them, if that makes any sense. But it's very easy for me to go 5, 6, and 7 and to select any individual hero. And then if I want to use the inventory slots, which are going to be by far the rarest button that I ever push on my Paladin, and one that I definitely do not want to fat finger, that's the F1, F2, and that'll be really easy for me to go, oh shit, and shoot my fingers up the keyboard, feel the F1, F2, F3 keys, and hit them pretty much no problem. I want the F1, F2, and F3 keys to be the rarest buttons that I ever push, and I also want them to be the keys that... if fat fingering is an issue, I want to counter that by putting them on the F1, F2, and F3 keys. But selecting my hero with F1, F2, and F3, and then sliding my hand, like shooting my hand up, and sliding my hand back down to the keyboard, even League of Legends style, is incredibly fucking painful. Really do not like that. So I'm setting it up this way. Now you might think using army hotkeys 5, 6, and 7 for hero selection is really bad. If you have the more grid system of your Razor Naga, you could make it like, 9, 10, 11, whatever, make it even easier on yourself. But it's not that bad, and I'll explain why for Warcraft 3. So, Warcraft 3 army movement is a little goofy. Grubby does make some videos on this. Basically, Warcraft 3 army movement follows... damn it, what's the game? I really should know this. Age of Empires. It follows Age of Empire rules. And what I mean by that is, when you're moving an army around in the game, it's constantly trying to maintain a very specific formation of movement. It's trying to have melee units in the front, heroes right behind those melee units, and then it's trying to have ranged guys or spellcasters in the back. It's always trying to maintain that formation. So when you're moving in a direction and your army, if you have all your units selected and you're moving them in a direction, it's going to insist upon maintaining that formation. But if you suddenly tell them to move backwards, it's going to try to reorientate the formation and move it in that direction, which is incredibly bad. You'll have melee units trying to get ahead of ranged units. They'll be bumping into each other all over the fucking place because they're trying to maintain their formation. The exact same thing happens in Age of Empires, except in Age of Empires, your units can freely move through your own units. So when you tell your army to go to change direction from going left to right, they have this little pause as they kind of like reshift and move through each other to get their formation reoriented before they go before they fuck off into a completely different direction. In Warcraft 3, you have bumping, which means it's going to be a complete clusterfuck if you are moving your army in that format. So without exception, I'm pretty sure without exception, in Warcraft 3, you're going to have like your heroes assigned, how I do it. I have my heroes assigned to hotkey 1, so that'll be all 3 of my heroes. So I want my heroes to go somewhere, I just have a hotkey specifically for them. Then you have a hotkey assigned for your melee guys. And then you'll have like 3 and 4 assigned for like your casters or your range units. 4 for me is usually like either superfluous buildings or usually when I'm playing human, it's specifically for arcane towers, so I can hit the 4 key and the default key for arcane towers to be able to use their abilities. Like if I click arcane tower right here, you can see that the sight ability is R. The R key is right below the 4 key, so it sets up extremely nicely. I just go 4, select all my arcane towers, press the R key, get to scan the map, and then we're back in business. But you have to assign your armies specifically, like melee, ranged, blah, 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 blah. Otherwise, they'll like bump into each other and try to maintain the stupid formation. So instead, what you do is you're like, here, if your army is moving left or right, let's say they're moving left in that formation, you suddenly want to go right. You literally just tell the casters to go that way. The melee, you go army group 1, 2, 3, move, 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 right? And then what happens is they don't try to reorient their formation and they move seamlessly. They don't bump into each other and yada yada yada. So the most keys you really need in Warcraft 3 for army movements is about 3 keys. You need one for your heroes because, again, they think of them as like a separate unit for army organization. You need melee on a separate hotkey, and then you need your ranged and or casters on a separate hotkey. I would like a bit more keys if I could like queue up my building so I could build without looking at the base. But it doesn't really matter all that much to me. If I really cared, I'd swap out my Razor Naga for more buttons with my thumb and then reassign the numbers as I said there. Okay, so let's go through an example really fast. Let's say I wanted to move, my army's moving left and I wanted to move it right? I'm literally going to hit the 1 key and I'm going to tell them I'm going to go 1 move, 2 move, 3 move, and my army will just move seamlessly. If I want to select my first hero, I'm going to hit my 5 button on my mouse. It'll pick up my first hero. And then I'll just slide my finger off the 3 key down to the E key, and next thing I know, like I pull up the Paladin, it'll probably be the first guy I select, so I hit 5, pulls up the Paladin, and I slide my finger down, I hit E. I can literally play League of Legends, it's not that big of a deal, cast the spells. If I want the mage, let's say that's my second hero, I hit my 6, you know, and I'm playing League of Legends again. If for whatever reason I want to cast a spell, from my inventory, my fingers can shoot up and hit my my F1, F2, and 3 keys and not possibly fuck it up. To me, as a WoW player and a person who hates key bindings with a fiery fucking passion, I'm finding this key setup for Warcraft 3 to be absolutely amazing. And that's basically all there is to it, and all I really have to say about that. Feel free to try it. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get my hotkeys set up. I had to go out of the game and like select it to custom, and only then does it allow me to dick around with the hotkeys here. So as human, I have most of the heroes that I'm going to use set up, you know, League of Legends format, and then the 2 neutral heroes that I ever use as humans, which are Alchemist, is set up this way, and Pit Lord of all things. Pit Lord screws over the AI insanely. His Howl of Terror is absolute. The AI just doesn't dispel anything. So Pit Lord with Howl of Terror is kind of nuts. You might think healing him with a human faction is difficult, but it's actually pretty easy with a Staff of Sanctuary, especially if you have an Alchemist around. So your Alchemist can help heal them. You Staff of Sanctuary him out, like worst case scenario, and then you park a priest right next to your town hall with auto heal on, and his only job is to sit there and heal anything that gets Staffed of Sanctuary there. It's a common pro move. So yeah, the Pit Lord allows you to go toe-to-toe with most enemy armies. The primary army I like to use against orcs, and my army comp is really weird. I've tried different army comps over the years, but at the end of the day, this just ends up being the better one. If there's no town hall on the map, I'll start with Paladin, and then I usually like to get the Alchemist from the town, from the neutral tavern, and then the final hero will be the Pit Lord, because he's basically just there as a Howl of Terror bot. If the Pit Lord isn't available, or if I don't want to use a Pit Lord, or if I'm fighting something else, it'll either be Mountain King or Archmage or a Blood Mage that'll come out. But my army comp, I've experienced with different army comps over the years, and my favorite army comp is kind of the simplest, stupidest, dumbest thing in the world. It's literally a bunch of knights. We're talking like 9, 10 knights or something stupid like that, and like 6 priests. And the only thing the priests are there to do with the army, because again, you have a paladin and you have a an alchemist for healing purposes. The only thing that the priests are there to do is cast holy fire on your army, and then basically sit back and look pretty. And what's weird about that army comp for me, and keep in mind it's a PvE army comp, not a PvP army comp, but what I find fascinating about it is you might think that adding some sorceresses would be better, or adding some, rather than all those knights, adding a couple sorceresses, rather than all those knights, adding a couple of spellbreakers, rather than all those knights, adding some sorceresses and some spellbreakers, right? Steal those bloodlusts away from them, deny them their attack speed, give it to your guys, put a bunch of slow on the enemy, you know, blah, 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 blah. The downside to that, it's one of those weird scenarios where it's like, is it enough of a difference to make a difference? The answer is, if I don't have a pit lord, then I definitely want to bring some sorceresses, and like 2 sorceresses and like 2 spellbreakers to the party. Because those slows and those spell steals will change the fight rather dramatically. But when you have a pit lord that just runs into the AI and Howl of Terror, and the AI doesn't know how to find its damn dispel button, slowing the enemy even further and stealing their buffs away doesn't really move the needle all that much. I've learned over the years that I actually do need a rather healthy chunk of knights with your human army. The reason for this is because going air power against double orc, for example, is really, really good. The problem with that is that even though you're killing the enemy ground army incredibly efficiently and effectively, and you're quite safe with your human air power, your humans are getting, your heroes are getting absolutely pummeled on the ground by, like, you know, Tauren warriors, and just getting smashed into oblivion. And you really need to help them out and help save the hero life totals so they can do their damn job, heal the army, cast their spells. You need to buy your human army time with a meat shield. So that it becomes more difficult for the enemy army to focus your heroes. So you need, like, at a bare minimum, like 6 knights with your army to help keep the enemy back. And I found that when you pump that number up to like 10, then your heroes really don't die. You have enough extra meat on the battlefield that you can easily start Staff of Sanctuarying out, pulling back wounded knights, and you still have that kind of minimum requirement of 6 knights on the battlefield to help keep your heroes safe. So it's one of those things where it's like, adding sorceresses would be good, but you could just have more knights. And adding spellbreakers would be good, but you could just, you know, have more knights. And the knights kind of seem to just kind of compound on their own, especially against the AI. It doesn't help if it doesn't hurt, of course, that they're also fast as hell. So it's very easy for you to slam into the enemy, fight them a bit, and then pull back, bunch up, get that alchemist AoE healing going. Do some spot healing with your paladin, you know, heal up your army super fast, and then charge back into the enemy again. Really, really good tactics. I've tried all different kinds of army comps over the years. In PvP, you end up having like this mix of a bunch of different units. Like, you know, you'll have a few riflemen, you'll have some flying machines, you'll have some spellbreakers, priests, sorceresses. Even in PvP, you want a good, like, you know, 4 or 5 knights just as like a frontline meat shield to do their damn job. Even mortar teams will come out of Grubby from quite often. You have like a few griffins flying around. But yeah, in PvE, it's just kind of a different story. So anyways, I wanted to make a quick video about my wonderful adventure doing hotkeys for this fucking game that's kind of a mix of like League of Legends and RTS game, and it sits in that awkward time period where shift 1, 2, and 3 do not exist, or basically pairing 2 buttons do not exist. So I've been playing games trying to use this hero setup. So far, it's been pretty damn good. I've been enjoying it. But, God, I'm not very good at it. But if I keep playing, if I put it in like a good 40 hours with it, I'm sure it'll start feeling really comfortable in the hand. But anyways, I'm going to end the video here, and Deus Vult. Yeah, so I'm going to upload this video just as like a hotkey, like, you know, video Warcraft 3, me ranting and raving about hotkeys and how I found it really weird. When we're done here, I'll actually go play out this game. I'll upload the video. I'll play it. Basically, I'm going to start a new video immediately after this. I'm going to play out this game, and you can see what I mean by it. Will I suck? Yes. I haven't played this game in, like, ages. But if you think two insane computers are going to do fuck all against me, you're out of your damn mind. So anyway, anyways, I'm in the video here, and Data's fault.